Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the NHPO Leadership Institute class. First of all, I want to thank you for being here, and personally, it's an honor. The dedication that you have, not only to yourselves to become better leaders, but to the community, I think is worth noting. Because there's one thing in our Latino community that we don't have enough of, is good leaders. What I'm going to talk about today is our population as a whole and where we're going. But we also have to remember where we've been. If we look at the Latino population today, we're talking about 45, 46 million people. I'm very anxious to see the new census come out because I think it's going to be quite surprising and stunning to a lot of people of just how fast our community has grown. But as we're growing, and we're now the majority minority, and as we continue to grow along this trend, it's estimated by the year 2050, which I really think is going to happen before that 1 out of 4 people in this country will be Hispanic. Now, some of you are thinking, man, that's great. Let's applaud the effort. Well, before we applaud the fact that 1 out of 4 people in this country are going to be Hispanic, which I think is a pretty cool thing, let's go back a little bit further and realize what type of people or what type of Latinos are going to be in this country, and are they going to be prepared to enter the job market and take on leadership roles and adequate responsibility. Because unfortunately, in our school systems today, we're experiencing close to a 50% dropout rate amongst Latino students. And with a 50% dropout rate, where half aren't even getting a high school education, when we're one-fourth of the entire country, and 1/8 of the entire population doesn't have a GED, there's some serious problems. So what I want to talk about today are some of the things of what I consider that are paramount in making sure we have a successful society. And there's a few basic points. Point number 1 is going to be education. Education is the cornerstone of any society, and we need to make sure that we invest time, effort, and money to make sure that our youth is better prepared. Unfortunately, as a Latino community, sometimes we don't get our kids into preschool. We wait. They stay at home with the parents. They stay at home with the relatives. Early childhood development, early education is very important for the success of our community. As we're looking at the overall United States, even without the Latino community factor in it, is way behind the rest of the world. You look at China, you look at India, you look at a lot of these other countries, they are literally leaving us eating dust when it comes to the quality and the degree of education. This country was built on freedoms, and the education system we've had has been a very successful one up to a point. We're now at a point where we're lagging behind, and we have to make sure that we have a strong education. Now, within the Latino community, let's say about 45 million of us out there, and I'm anxious to see what the new census say, but we're talking only about 10 to 12% of Latino population actually has a post-secondary education. Only about 10% actually have graduated from college. To me, that's unacceptable. We lag behind the African Americans. We lag behind the Asians. We lag behind our Anglo counterparts. In fact, the Hispanics are pretty much at the bottom of the rung when it comes to completing a post-secondary education. Why is that? A lot of it's not due to not wanting an education. A lot of it's due to the fact that we're growing so fast, and the fact that we have children having children. Enter the immigration factor into it. A lot of people come to this country not necessarily to get educated, but to get a job and to survive and to send some money back. So our community is facing a lot of issues that other communities and other cultures are not. So as we look at it, we have to address it not on one level, but multiple levels. But remember, education is the cornerstone of every society, and it is going to be imperative that if we're going to survive as a community and contribute to this country and take our rightful place, that we must make sure that our youth are educated and our adults are educated. And that's why I'm so glad to see so many of you here, because this is an education process. You are enrolled in a leadership institute to become better leaders. And with that leadership comes responsibility. Now figure, for those of you that are very fortunate enough to have a post-secondary education, maybe a master's or PhD, you're in a very, very small minority. And everybody's going to want you. You're a hot commodity. Corporate America is going to want you. Everybody's going, we have an educated Latino that's bilingual, that's bicultural. That's something that sells on the market very well. There's going to be a lot of people wanting you. Now you can either go to the highest bidder, which I encourage you to do so, but at the same time, what responsibility do you have to your family, to your community as a whole? Because when there are so few that actually have achieved that level of education, you are the ones in the leadership roles. You are the ones that everybody's watching and hoping that you initiate what's necessary to make the change. So education. Along with education, the second point I want to make is that going to be a political involvement. Political involvement, especially in this country, must occur. And you know, I don't care whether you're a Democrat, a Republican, a Libertarian, a vegetarian, it doesn't matter. The fact is that you're involved in the process. You know, we're talking about the immigration issues right now. It's all over the news. We've seen marches, we've seen protests. And you know, marching and protesting and carrying signs and yelling and waving flags, that's great, because in this country you have the right to do that. But at the same time, how much change is that actually going to initiate? Changes aren't made in the streets. Changes are made in boardrooms. Changes are made in Congress. Changes are made in the Senate. What we need to do as a community is to educate ourselves and become politically sophisticated enough where we can take on the battles in the courtrooms, in the boardrooms, inside those chambers that we have not been allowed to enter before. Whether we like it or not, as we look at our own evolution, and let's look back, let's go back a little bit further. I'm very proud to be Mexican American. I'm very proud of my ancestry. But as I travel around, in no time in my adult life have I been asked so many times from different people around the country, Jared, where are you from? I go, I'm from Texas. No, what country are you from? I go, what do you mean? They go, what are you? I go, well, I'm Mexican, Mexican American. Oh, you're Mexican, so did your parents come from Mexico? I go, no. Oh, your grandparents came from Mexico? I go, no. Your great-grandparents came from Mexico? I go, no. I go, well, wait a minute. You're Mexican, but nobody came from Mexico. I go, exactly. Because see, in my family and the cases of many others, my family never crossed the border. The border crossed them. Because where we are standing right now was once part of Mexico. You know, one time, my family, we were ranchers, we were landowners and ranchers. The next day after a war, we're cattle thieves and squatters, okay? Go figure. Another thing, we don't write our own history, okay? We need to remember our own history. As you look back generations ago, I'm very proud that we're descendants from the Incas, the Mayans, great warriors, the conquistadores, the Spaniards. Do you know that it was our ancestors who built the vast pyramids? We were architects, we were astrologists, we were mathematicians, we came up with the concept of zero. We were that much ahead of the game, so sophisticated, where our Anglo counterparts were still living in log cabins stuck together by mud. But look how far advanced we were. But what happened? We have the capacity here. We have it here. Tenemos ganas. But something has happened, and where we've now taken, through historically, almost what is almost a second-class type of citizen. And we can't allow that anymore. We need to make sure that we take our rightful place in this country, because this is the United States of America and everybody is equal. And what's even more so, this was once part of our country. I'm very proud to be an American, and I'm always an American first. But at the same time, I recognize my roots and my heritage. And as people are saying, all you Mexicans need to go back, or go back to where you came from, I go, this is where we came from. And don't make a mistake. We have fought and died for this country. Per capita, more Latinos have been awarded the Congressional Medal of Honor than any other group. We're very patriotic. We will fight and die for this country that we believe in, but yet, still, and now so, more than ever before, a lot of people don't consider us from being here, and we're invaders of some sort. So the political process is very important that you get involved in. Learn the system, participate in it, and make sure that your voice is being heard, and make sure, because you had the training, because you had the education, that your voice represents for those and speaks for those who can't speak for themselves. Education, political involvement. Another key thing is going to be economic development, creation of wealth. Okay? We're business owners, we're entrepreneurs, but at the same time, a lot of people don't realize just how much. Do you realize that the Latino market, the Latino business market, is growing 3 times faster than any other market segment? Latina-owned businesses are growing 6 to 7 times faster than any other market segment. They are just blowing everybody out of the water. Latinas, I don't know how you're doing it. Personally, I'm watching Oprah and Christina to see if I can learn anything. I mean, there is a balance. Now that with the Hispanic population growing at the rate it's growing, with the fact that we are entrepreneurs, with the fact that our market business segment is growing faster than any other segment, it only stands to reason we are going to be the community that is going to help turn this economy around. We are the economic engine of this country. Whether people like it or not, realize it or not, we contribute. And the argument that, oh, all these undocumented workers, all these illegal aliens are a drain on the system. Let's make something very clear. To a certain degree, it's not a drain, but an investment. Because when you start actually adding up the numbers, the biggest loss, or the biggest drain, if you'd be, is going to be in the school system because we have so many new Latino faces in those schools. But is educating a population a drain, or is that an investment in your own future? Do you not think that the IRS knows that maybe 375 people share the same Social Security number? Come on. And out of that paycheck, that little FICA that takes out and your employer matches, that goes where? Where does that money go? Is that a drain? That's a positive impact, an economic impact on the government. That money is being used for other purposes, but at the same time, it's like they're a drain. Well, they don't pay taxes. Who's they, first of all? And you know what? Every time you buy a stick of gum, you pay a tax someplace. And as far as not paying an income tax, when you have a bogus Social Security number and that withholding comes out, you never apply for a refund, so you're actually making money. Experts will say that there's about $780 billion created annually within the Latino community. $780 billion, okay? That figure, in my opinion, is bogus, because what they do not take into account is the underground economy of the 10 to 12 million Hispanics living in this country and the trade that goes there, nor do they count the island of Puerto Rico and the 4 million people living there. You combine those two economies and you got over $1 trillion. Over $1 trillion where we've been for a period of time. We are the economic engine. We are the future of this country. Education, political involvement, creation of wealth. In that creation, we need to learn to do one thing much better, okay? And that's spend money with each other. We need to support our own businesses. We need to do business with each other. When the tide rises, it raises all boats. Let's take, for example, the Asian community, the Jewish community. Money will circulate 6 or 7 times in that community before it goes out. With Latinos, if we're lucky, half a cycle, we're down at Walmart, okay? We're buying from somebody else. We need to learn to spend money with each other. We need to trust each other, and we need to spend money so the economic engine supports itself, more people are getting jobs, adds to the tax base, and we are a viable community making a difference. And let's be realistic. A lot of these folks, well, I just don't trust Latinos. I'd rather do business with a white guy or an Anglo. Well, you know what? Who are they subcontracting the work to anyway? We're doing the work. I mean, I get a kick out of it. You look at Latinos are in every facet. We're in every industry. I went to a Chinese restaurant the other day, looked in the back, you got Latinos making the food. We have a purpose in this country. We're hard workers. Now, granted, there are some issues, and there's some people that are here unlawfully and are criminals, and you know what? Prosecute those criminals, incarcerate them, and then deport them. But as far as the ones that are here working hard and adding to the economy, contributing to society, and trying to make a better life for themselves, I mean, who wouldn't? How can you hold that against anybody who actually wants to provide a better life for their family? I don't think anybody here can deny the fact that the plight of the world today, especially with this economic downturn, is difficult, and everybody's trying to survive. But instead of pointing out the differences, let's take a little bit of time and look at the similarities amongst ourselves and see how we can work together and grow together. So we have education, we have political involvement, we have the creation of wealth. The other thing is going to be collaboration. We need to collaborate with each other. We need to collaborate with non-Latino organizations. We need to get best practices from somebody else and learn to work together. Working separately is only going to get you so far. Working together, adding your culture, your understanding, your mix to add to the melting pot, if you will, your diversity is going to make it a lot better and usually come up with a better solution. Let's look at corporate America today. They're wanting to collaborate. Believe me, they're wanting to collaborate with you. But let's be realistic. As we're reaching out to the Latino community, more and more corporations are looking. You are now the majority minority. You are growing at a rate that is a tremendous rate. And this is 2010 figures, okay? I mean 2000 figures, not 2010. But in the year 2000, the U.S. Census Bureau reported that the Latino community was growing at 1.7 million people a year. 1.7 million, okay? That's a big figure. Let's get our head around that. 1.7 million, that's 100,000 new Latinos in this country every 3 weeks. 100,000 every 3 weeks. We're a population of 44, 45 million, okay? Canada is 33 million people. We're larger than the country of Canada. We're like a country within a country in the United States. And we're everywhere. And we're very diverse. We have white Hispanics, we have brown Hispanics, we have black Hispanics. The other day I met a guy, he came up to me after a speech and goes, Mr. Gonzales, let me introduce myself. My name is Pablo Wong. We have Asians that are Hispanics. So as we look at it, we're a very diverse culture within ourselves, about 22 different countries of origin. But the rest of the world, when they think Hispanics or Latinos, they just see one thing. And it's going to be up to you as future leaders and current leaders to dispel that stereotype and to show them we're more than just workers. We're more than just maids. You know, we can operate other machinery besides a grass blower, okay? We have our part in this country and in this world. We're professionals. But as corporate America, and a lot of people are looking at you, they're looking at you for your buying power, for your dollars. They want you inside their corporations not to take over. They don't want you to marry their daughters or their children. They want you because they see a way to utilize you to tap into a market. And that's okay. Utilize it. Because if you're bilingual, you're bicultural, you have a future because that's what everybody's looking for. But at the same time, don't forget who you are, where you come from, and the actual impact you can have. And nothing happens without my fifth point, and that's going to be leadership. And that's why we're here today. Your best ideas, your best plans, your best methods, without leadership, it's not going to happen. Look, all through history, nothing happens without a leader. Nothing happens without somebody saying, I am going to take a leadership role or we are going to get this done. Will there be mistakes? Of course. Will it always work the way you want to? Probably not. But you know what? Somebody has to do it. And if one person has a vision, and that vision is shared with somebody else, then it becomes a shared vision and starts growing and growing and growing. Then it's a movement. And then that's where change happens. That's how change happens. Is because somebody had a vision and was dedicated enough to go out there and show up every day and work for that vision and to involve other people to make sure that that happens. As we look at leadership, come on, realistically, when you're in a leadership role, when you dare to raise your head above a crowd, get ready for somebody to shoot at you, okay? They're always going to be saying stuff. It's not easy. Why people take leadership roles, I don't know. Why I keep doing it, don't know. No, I take that back. I do know. And I'll tell you what I know. I know that I've been very, very blessed to have parents that love me, a good education, good opportunities. And if I don't go out there and I don't lead, and I don't use my talents and my skills to help my community or to help add to a voice that needs to be heard, then I'm not doing my job. I've been given certain gifts. El Señor gave me some things and some gifts and some talents that if I don't use them, I'm not going to let myself down, but I'm letting him down because I don't know what the plan is for me. I don't know what the plan is. All I know is I am always working to improve my skill sets so whatever comes my way, I'm prepared. Leadership. You have a lot of people that are self-proclaimed leaders. You have a lot of people out there going, well, I'm a leader, but are they really leaders? Because they don't understand the basic concept of leadership. And that's another reason you're here for this class, is to learn the mechanics, the tools, and how to be a better leader. And by doing so, not only are you improving yourself, you're also giving yourself skill sets that you're going to have for a lifetime. But more important, you're going to share those skill sets with somebody else, and somebody else will learn. And they'll teach somebody else, and somebody else. And like a ripple effect, a wave will go out, and we need to make sure that our Latino community is well represented and we have adequate and well-trained and prepared leaders, because that's when change will occur. Now, if we're talking about change, don't make the mistake of thinking, and we all did it, remember when you were little? Mijo, work hard, keep your nose to the grindstone, your efforts will get recognized, and you'll do well, okay? In theory, that's great, but in reality, does that always work? Sometimes it does. But the same thing I learned a long time ago, that as you work hard, keep your nose to the grindstone, make a little noise every now and then, okay? It's the agitator in the washing machine that gets the clothes clean, right? You need to make a little noise. And at the same time, be realistic, all right? When have you ever seen in the history of the world that somebody goes, hey, I like you, let me give you power? No. Power is not given, it's taken. And as a community, with 45 million people plus, growing at the rate we're growing at, having the economic strength that we have, and soon being 1/4 of this country, you're damn straight we need to go out there and take it. We need to take it, we need to hang on to it, and we need to make sure that our voice is heard, not only on Capitol Hill, but from Capitol Hill to a church to a church or a PTA. All along the pipeline, we need to make sure that we have leaders that are prepared to lead and give some guidance to our community, and to make sure everybody else understands who Latinos are and what we're worth, because we're worth a lot. And many of us are very fortunate we can do it in 2 languages. Some of you can do it in 3 or 4, and that is truly a talent and a blessing. So as we look at, number 1, education, we look at political involvement, the creation of wealth, collaboration. We need to collaborate with others, other communities. There's no reason we shouldn't stand shoulder to shoulder with our African American brothers and sisters, or our Asian brothers and sisters. Any minority group that has faced some of the stuff that we face need to collaborate and work together. Now, if you look at the overall population of the United States, if you take your Hispanic, African American, Asian, other, you combine that, and we're already at 40-something% of the population. But we're not organized. We're not working together. We're not collaborating, and not enough people are taking leadership roles. We're not spending enough money with each other, and we're not educating ourselves properly, whether it be in schools or as adults, to prepare for the next step. We need to prepare ourselves. I'm a firm believer that you are the total sum of your experiences. So you know what? There's many times, especially when I talk to large crowds, especially the young people, I hear all kinds of stories. Oh, you know, I'm here undocumented, my parents are divorced, I grew up poor, eating beans and rice. I mean, who didn't? Come on. You know, everybody has a story. And as I listen to some of these stories, I smile and try to have a certain degree of empathy, and many times I can. But I look at them straight in the eye and go, it's very touching, but you know what my suggestion is? Get over it. Get over it. Don't use it as a crutch. We've all been there. We all have a story. I could tell you stories that bring tears to your eyes. But you know what? Learn from those experiences. It doesn't matter what you've done or where you've been. What matters is where you're going. But you learn from those experiences in the past, as we should learn from our own history and talk to our parents and our grandparents who are still around. Read history, and read history written by Latinos and not written by somebody else, because it's not an accurate account of our own history. And as doing so, we need to take much better care, or custodians of our own history, and start writing it ourselves. In an age of technology, whether it be a blog, whether it be a Facebook, whatever it is, we need to start documenting our own history and writing it from our point of view instead of how somebody else looks at us. Now, let's be realistic. I also get a kick when I'm talking to some of my more lighter complected brothers and sisters, Anglos, whatever you want to call them, especially some of my cowboy friends. Oh, I love my redneck buddies, you know. They're going, well, JR, you know, you little taco bender, how you doing? You know, and I go, okay. I take a little bit of it, but then I too realize something that they don't realize. I go, hey, who taught you how to be a cowboy? Okay, come on. Horses didn't come over on the Mayflower. Horses came over from Spain. The conquistadores brought the horses down into Mexico. Then there was cowboys, vaqueros, and they migrated up, and it was the vaqueros that taught the Anglo settlers how to be cowboys. Do you think rodeo is an English word? Come on. We taught them. We have contributed to this country, we've contributed to this history, but many times we forget about it. Not because of our own doing, because we're told something different all through school as we're growing up. So as you become leaders, as you become people of respect in your communities, and as you take the forefront in this battle that's going to go on, remember who you are, remember where you came from, and that you have a responsibility not only to yourself, but to your community. And when I say your community, of course, I'm referring first and foremost to whoever you consider your community. It could be your family, your church, but also the Latino community. But don't make the mistake that so many people have made over the years. Don't put your own community or your own culture or race, don't put them above somebody else's. And don't discriminate against other people in favor of your own, because that makes you just as much of a bigot as the people who have been prejudiced towards us. You have to work together. You have to learn the balance. You have to learn what's fair and what's just. We live in a country that is the best country in the world. But at the same time, as I've had the opportunity to travel to different parts of the world that go back to, ancient cities that go back 3,000 to 4,000 years BC, there's a realization that these United States of America and this thing we call democracy is yet an experiment that's only been around for about 200 and something odd years. It's still an experiment. There's still an opportunity for it to fail. But you know what? It's looking good for the home team. We're in a rough economic situation. You know what? We've had them before. It will pass. But what will survive is the American spirit. What will survive is a spirit to continue and to prosper. And I kind of make a joke, and I say it kind of kiddingly to some audiences, and I'll share it with you, that says, if the world ever had another ice age, there's two things that I would know. That it's going to be cockroaches and Latinos that will survive, okay? We can survive anything. We are a durable, resilient people. We prove it every day. As people talk about risk, I get a kick out of when I hear people talking about risk. Well, you know, the stock market is starting to change, and I don't know, that's kind of a risky bet. What's risk is crossing the desert in the summertime, you're trying to sneak a few people across to get a job. Risk is not knowing whether, you know, you're going to get deported. Risk is going, I want this job, I'm qualified, but you know what? Because my last name is Gonzales and my color of skin is a little darker than everybody else, I am now in a suspect class of people, and people wonder, should I even be here? Even though I was born here, and I'm from here, and I'm a proud American, and has a family that has fought and died for this country, you're still being questioned. Now, you look through history, you know, what's happening to Latinos, it happened to the Irish, it happened to the Chinese, it happened to everybody along one point or another. So it's our turn again. We will survive. And when we get through this, we have to make sure that when we come out of it stronger. And the only way that's going to happen is if we're prepared. The 5 things I told you about. We need to educate. We need to participate in politics. We need to create wealth and spend it with our own community. We need to collaborate, and we need to take a leadership role. I'm going to end on this note, ladies and gentlemen. All of you are professionals. You're busy people. You're taking this class. You want to improve. And I'm saying you need to go out there and contribute more. You need to give more of your time. And some of you think, I can't give anymore. I'm maxed out. And I say, you're wrong. Because right now, a lot of you are right here. I'm saying you need to be up here. You need to give it more. You go, Jerry, I can't. I go, yes, you can, because you know what? We were made in God's image. You have no idea what you're capable of doing. Most people in the world never know how far they can go or what they can achieve because they've never truly pushed themselves. They've been happy or at a place of mediocrity. It says, okay, I'm tired, I'm done. That's not going to cut it. You need to keep pushing and pushing and pushing and get to be the best that you can. And then when you can't give any more, give some more. And then when you're at that level, then maybe you can relax just a little bit, just to catch your breath, then it's time to keep pushing. And if you can't push yourself anymore, and if you think you've maxed out, then it's time to go back and help somebody else. Because you can't teach people to be successful unless you've been successful yourself. So with that, I want to thank you one more time for being here. Not only taking your time and investing your money in a class like this to improve yourselves as leaders, which in turn you can give back and improve the overall community, not only for the United States, but for Latinos across the world, and to make sure that when people look at us and think of us, they don't think of undocumented people working in kitchens and hotels, that they're looking at strong, proud faces with a rich culture and history, and are doing our part to make sure that this country, the United States of America, is a successful one. Thank you for your time.